Hi, Tom. I hear we have some kind of a conference coming up on May 19th, is it?
We certainly do. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to get together with like-minded Liberty folks on May 19th at Auburn Career Center, and we're going to start a new concept called the Liberator Network. And the goal of the Liberator Network is to bring people together across organizations, Liberty organizations, and it's a call to action.
Call to action? What's going on with the action that's already happening out there? Or is it a little bit of confusion with and wondering what we need to be doing with action?
Well, you know, I only relatively recently became a leader in the Tea Party movement. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I have found is that there are a lot of great organizations out there, and they do well in what they are doing. But I've noticed that they're kind of siloed. And siloed in the sense that they're not working across organization to actually move the needle to the right when it comes to policies and taxes and things like that. And what I'm hoping to do with the Liberator Network, of which the Liberator Conference is the kickoff for that, is to have cross-organizational actions to look at taxes, to look at other things, regulations, and really the goal is to reduce the tax burden, to reduce regulation and to fight regulation, and then really to fight against creating an environment where we end up with people being dependent on the government. I think we can do a better job working together if we have this concept in place.
Well, this is kind of like what our founders were going through at the time, starting out with the small groups and developing, the letters of correspondence that they had to do to try and figure out what the other groups, what the other, colonies were doing, and then how to come together and find those unifying areas. And it started a lot with, property rights and taxation and, those very same concepts that was that at the beginning of the nation.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. and really the goal is to not usurp any of the organizations that are out there. It's trying to make us more effective. And I think as time goes on, with regard to the Tea Party, that a lot of organizations and the theme of being conservative has really become prevalent. I mean, you hardly can see a Republican these days running for office not calling themselves a conservative. Mm-hmm. So I think we've won the ideological battle, so that everybody calls themselves conservative. But in reality, they really haven't changed their ways. And so what we need to do as a Tea Party movement, we need to move to that next level. And moving to the next level is going back to what you were saying, is where you had multiple groups working together, and then they banded together to have a common cause.
And each of them still maintain their own independence. They maintained, because they all became different states with their own constitutions, and their, what was local was important, but yet together they were able to come up with some solutions and build those coalitions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the books, I try to keep up on reading many things, and one of the books I read was Team of Teams. Mm-hmm. And what that talked about was putting together basically coalitions in attacking a problem. Any of the problems we confront, from high taxes to overregulation to creating a welfare state, it's too big for any one organization to tackle in of themselves. That's why we need to form coalitions, not only of the Tea Parties, but we also need to form coalitions with other ancillary, I wouldn't call them ancillary, but other groups that are out there. Even if they're not necessarily on the right or the left, we put basically coalitions together of the willing. Mm-hmm. And on specific issues, it may be on one issue that we have, X groups, and on issue number 2, it might be a different slate of coalition members that are working together to achieve that goal. So we really need to have a flexible way of attacking the monolith of government.
Great. Who are some of the groups that are going to be coming in? Because I understand we're going to have some breakout sessions as well as a keynote speaker. We have a real interesting Emcee. I mean, it seems like there's a lot that's going to happen on May 19th. What's on? Who are they? And what do we got going on, Tom?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's talk about the keynote speaker first. His name is Dan Johnson. He's a young guy from Northeast Ohio. He's now lives in Georgia, but he is the executive director of the Tax Revolution Institute, and has done a tremendous job of trying to get a different perspective on how to accomplish societal goals. Mm-hmm. Really, and to put it in a nutshell, is trying to get us back to where it is more of a civil society takes on things as opposed to looking to government all the time. all the time. And then we also have, as an MC, we have Peter Kirsanow. I think many of the members here, or many people listening, would be familiar with Peter. He's kind enough to be the MC, and I think he's going to provide a unique perspective. And then we do have breakout sessions. We have a total of 4 breakout sessions. One of the breakout sessions will be provided by Americans for Prosperity. They're going to talk about and give us skill sets basically on how to interact people. It's tell your story. And so it will help us communicate where we are and what we're talking about and relate to other people more effectively. We have Ohioans for Tax Reform, and they're a relatively new group, but they're going to talk about how we can work together in order to reduce the tax burden, which is going to be critical. We also have the Buckeye Institute, and many people who will be listening hopefully have heard of the Buckeye Institute, and they do great work down in Columbus, and they're a conservative think tank is how I like to look at them. And what we need to do, I think, is take some of the research they have and apply it to other parts of Ohio, not just necessarily in Columbus and at the state level, but at the local level too.
Sure.
And then last but not least, we have Scott Andrews, who is the vice president of the Geauga County Tea Party, and he's going to talk about what's going on in social media and the proclivity of them denying the conservative voice. Sure. So I think it's going to be a very exciting lineup.
Yeah, and then we really have a tie together, a real tie point with Brian. So what's that tie point? Because when we're really talking about the whole thing is what's happening in taxes, what's happening with our property rights, what does it mean across generations? Because I think there's something exciting across generational that we're going to be doing as well. Yep. So what's happening in those spheres, and how is Brian going to bring that to bear for us?
Yeah, terrific. So Brian Massey is a gentleman who lives in Lake County. He's semi-retired and is a former CPA, and is really a patriot. And what he has done, he wanted to figure out why and what drove his property taxes. So he went to the county. The county had some answers, but not all the answers, and had to go to Columbus. But the long and the short is that he did research on all of the property taxes he pays, and he's lived in his current community for 11 years. In the time that he's lived there, his property taxes have gone up 41%.
41%.
In the same time, the Consumer Price Index, which is one of the common measures of inflation, has only gone up 17%.
Right. So
over 200% faster have property tax gone up compared to CPI. And there are many issues with that. It's unfair across the board. It certainly puts a squeeze on seniors who are on fixed incomes. But in the end, we're going to tax ourselves to death. We're going to suffocate ourselves. And so with the work that Brian has done, and he's developed an organization called Lobbyists for Citizens. He's going to speak to us about what he has found and all the things that he has done in Lake County, which is where he lives, can be applied to every county around Cleveland, and we can get the same information. And based on that, we can put together action plans that help us get this tax burden under control.
So what we have then as the Liberator Network is to take and bring together not only those organizations that are already established, like AFP, like Ohioans for Tax Reform, and the other groups that we've just mentioned, but more particularly is that we'll be able to take and bring a model together that can be replicated for all the different citizens groups to develop strategies for action. And really, that's what the Liberator Network is trying to help develop, is it not? As to how we all work together for those strategies of action?
It is exactly.
Okay.
And I think it's critical that we raise our game to the next level. And I think this level of coordination is the next level that we need to get to.
Great. And we're just looking forward to all the different folks coming out, the different liberty groups that are already active in each community. And the Liberator Network is there to serve and enhance everything that everyone's doing and building additional strategies.
That is correct.
All right. Wonderful. So Liberator Network is May 19th at the Auburn Career Center in Concord, Ohio.
Concord, which is Lake County.
Lake County, and it's going to start at registration's 8:30.
Correct.
And the venue starts at 9 and goes till 3 o'clock. So come on, folks. It'll be a full day worth of great activity and bringing one another together to build the future for ourselves and our posterity. Great.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.